favorite spot is kind of this area it's down at the bottom, and deer just are super comfortable here. And one of the reasons for that is it's very difficult to get to. It's quite a hike getting down here, but it's always worth it. There's always deer, and there were 2 here. Just as I walked in, there was a 2.5-year-old buck, like back that way, little one, and a fawn was bedded underneath me, like underneath where my stand's at. So already got to see some, but it's about 4 o'clock. Them moving already is completely normal. There's not much chance of getting down here without spooking deer, but I think I should probably shut up because I don't think they ran very far, and we'll see if anything happens. I've had a shot every Tuesday this year for some reason, so we'll see if we can continue that.
Of course, the goal of every hunt is to get a deer, but one of my main goals on this hunt was really just to get down to this spot and get my camera arm base set up for the feature hunts. This is probably my best rut spot, and on a day where it's in the 70s, I didn't really expect too much deer movement. I thought it would be good to get down here and actually get that set up, because later in the week the weather is supposed to be really good, and I didn't want to be trying to set everything up while deer movement is more likely to be happening. So ultimately, even while we're just watching turkeys and squirrels on this hunt, we still managed to accomplish at least one of our main goals for this hunt.
Well, we're pretty well out of light now. I don't know if you can even see me. This backdrop of hemlock really does not do good for lighting for a post-hunt interview, but even without seeing a deer from this stand, you still always manage to produce something cool. We get those turkeys coming right underneath us here, and turkey season starts Saturday, I think, so that was good to see. Even though we saw those nice gobblers a couple of weeks ago, that's going to be my main goal. I think I'm going to take a day and see if I can get one of them, but that was a decent little hunt. We got the camera arm base set up, which is the main thing, because Friday and Saturday are supposed to be really good. I think the low Thursday night's like 28 and Friday night's 31, so could be really cold mornings. I'll probably try to sit most of the day both days. Friday will be the only one in this video. Saturday is going to be for next week, but I'm looking forward to that. That's November 1st and 2nd, which are definitely really good days to be out there, so looking forward to that. Not looking forward to having to get out of here because it is one heck of a hike, but I can't sleep here, so I guess it's gotta happen. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm leaning in close to the camera. I was about to do a little pre-hunt interview, and I looked up and there's a little buck right out here, so I figured I better leave the face mask on. I thought I might have seen a second deer behind him, but I don't think so. But I just got set up. That's a really good sign. Might be a good sit.
I watched this little buck for a while, and as he kind of worked his way out of my view, I realized I actually had seen a second deer, and it was yet another buck, and yet another young buck, and eventually he just sort of started trotting away, and I thought maybe he had smelled me or seen me. I didn't think he should have been able to, but as he was kind of running away, I couldn't figure out what was happening until I realized he's running with his tail tucked, and I immediately thought maybe that could be indicative of something, and, well, it didn't take too long to figure that one out. This big 8-point came out of absolutely nowhere and would not stop dogging this doe. For the better part of an hour, I watched him just sort of trot around, chase her around. Eventually they'd calm down and feed a little bit, but they're still well out of bow range at this point. And eventually he sort of just trotted out of sight. I kind of thought maybe never to be seen again, although one big plus of this area is there is quite a lot of acorns and quite a lot of feeding opportunity for deer out in front of me, so I was still hopeful that maybe he could return. And it wouldn't take long until he was back, and of course everything he does at this moment is really dependent on what the doe does. So she is out here feeding, and now he's deciding to do the same thing. So I'm watching him at about 75 yards, and I know there's just nothing I can do. He's not going to leave the doe, and I just gotta hope she decides to walk by me in bow range. It's happened before. I know they will travel near me, but at this particular time she doesn't seem too keen on doing that. Eventually both deer would bed out in front of me, and I watched them for about 30 minutes. Unfortunately, I lost the footage of this happening, but a small buck walked behind them, and the buck that I'm after suddenly started looking aggressive. He got all bristled up, and I thought, this is my best chance to get him off the doe. So I let out a really loud grunt, and, well, the next events were interesting to say the least. At this point, I thought I was actually going to get a shot, so I got the camera on my shooting lane and grabbed my bow. I thought maybe the big 8 would come up and meet this guy as they were in the shooting lane, but of course the buck has a doe to tend to, so he's not going to do that. You may be able to hear the footsteps. The young buck walks by at less than 20 yards, and of course this guy has not much interest in coming any closer. He's at about 46 yards, and maybe 5 yards closer and a more clear shooting lane, I may have tried it, but in a really tight window and that far away, it just wasn't worth the risk. But of course he'd be back. Another young buck came through, and once again he's there to run him out of there. And another chance I think I'm gonna get as he starts chasing the buck right at me. No doubt that's one of the cooler things I've gotten on film this year, having a mature buck snort wheeze at a younger buck. But of course, the 8-point's going to stay back there with his doe, and this young buck's going to walk so close that I actually struggle to even keep him on film. Unfortunately, that would be the end of this chapter with this nice 8-point. I had him in sight for over 3 hours, but eventually he would work his way out of my sight without ever giving me a shot or coming into bow range. But what an encounter. That was some really cool rut footage, and especially for my first deer filming, that was really, really special to actually capture on film.
Well, I decided to make the move here for this evening's hunt. This is where we missed that doe 2 weeks ago, and I said then, I think this is going to be a really good rut spot. There's a lot of big mature does that move through. They're quite calm coming out early, so I think that's a good opportunity to see a mature buck with, you know, plenty of legal shooting light and most importantly camera light. So we're gonna give it a shot. It's still like 37 degrees, I think, and wind is perfect. That was the other reason. The wind kind of shifted on me, and it's just blowing right into my face down into this corner where there's not really anything happening. All the bedding is back that way, so this should be good. Got a little bit warmed up walking back over that hill. I just walked up, got in the truck and drove in here, but we'll see. I don't have a lot of camera batteries, so I'm gonna have to kind of conserve that, but I'm excited. It's still November 1st. After what I saw this morning, this could definitely be fun.
Almost immediately, I had another young buck right out in front of me, and in a moment you may recognize this guy from a deer we saw earlier in this hunt, but he actually walks by literally at 5 yards. So now I do have a little bit of a scent trail that could help me out. I just need a mature buck to end up on it. The rest of this hunt would be a bit abnormal for this spot. Young deer were on the field early as usual, but the mature deer that we've been seeing early from this area did not come out until absolute last light. So it was still good to actually see a good number of deer from this spot again, but they didn't seem to be moving nearly as early as they did a few weeks ago.
It's another week, and we might not have gotten a kill this one, but man, I think that might have been the best week so far, just purely because of this morning's hunt. What we saw this morning, all that buck activity, I'm really encouraged by that. I'm really looking forward to getting back out there. We got 2 more weeks of archery leading into the peak of the rut, and they're going to be the best 2 weeks. I cannot wait. But I've got, I think, 4 does still out there, so gotta be quiet. Turkey season starts next week as well, fall turkey season, so hopefully we can maybe knock down one of those big tons we saw, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And I have no idea where that buck came from. It's too dark, I think, to get him on film, but regardless, things are heating up, so thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.